opening tip, another John Morant incredible miss dunk. This one came against the Nets last night. Dante Jones, why are Ja's misses more impressive than most players makes?
Because he tries anything. An ability to jump over people.
Look at that.
One of these days he's going to catch somebody like that.
Right?
Here's the thing, Dante. He's too young to worry about his body.
Right.
Like he is like, I don't care. I'll just jump over anybody.
He's got young Dwayne Wade syndrome, right?
Right.
Yep.
He likes to fall a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm going to talk about his knees later.
Enjoy it while you can.
Exactly. Welcome to The Jump. I am Rachel Nichols. I am alongside the host of the Hoop Collective podcast, Mr. Brian Windhorst. A new one out now. I just noticed pop up on my phone this morning.
You're welcome, everybody.
Exactly. And NBA champ, first team All-ACC at Duke, Mr. Dante Jones. Now, Dante, you played 13 seasons in the NBA, but you come on The Jump, you know we're going to show this.
I appreciate it.
You dunking on someone in college and then doing push-ups over him.
Wait a minute. Your foot is still on the dude
over
while
him.
you're doing push-ups.
My foot is under the dude. I was stuck.
Oh, yeah, that's
So that's why between Coach K and him making me a little bit upset, talking crazy to me, and then him being stuck on top of me, that's what
By
happened.
the way, on the road, not in Cameron, on the road, he does that.
In a snowstorm.
Which, by the way, is totally on brand for you. It was on brand then and it's on brand now.
Again, 13 years in the NBA, never change. Coming up, Steph Curry is set to make his return tonight, finally after missing nearly 4 months of game action, which we expect from the two-time MVP. Stick around and we will discuss. First, though, so when the Mavericks traded for Kristaps Porzingis, Mark Cuban sat at KP's introductory press conference and said his intention was to keep Porzingis and Luka Doncic together, quote, for the next 20 years. Okay, that may have seemed at least a little, I don't know, hasty, especially considering the injury issues dogging Porzingis. But remember, Cuban once had Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash on the same team. When Nash became a free agent and wanted to sign a long-term contract with the Mavs, Cuban instead let him walk to Phoenix, a mistake he has since said he will regret forever. So from the start, with this pairing, Cuban has been adamant they are his team's future. And last night, we got another glimpse of why. This game was billed as a showcase for the future of the NBA. And we got a nice headlining moment off the top with this Luka step-back three over Zion Williamson. Now, this was Zion's first career ever back-to-back. You could see he was a little sluggish. He also struggled with that defense from Maxi Kleber and, yes, Porzingis. They combined for 10 blocks. Luka, on the other hand, also seemed a little off at times early in the game. That spurred speculation the finger he sprained the other night could be bothering him. Still, by the time these two teams got to the fourth quarter, everybody seemed to bear down and level up. Brandon Ingram, cooking. Seth Curry, firing. Zion really got engaged. Looked great there at the end. But when the game rolled into OT, it was a first frustrated and then very calm Luka who firmly took control. Take a look at this three.
Oh, this is
icy. Just so sure of himself and confident. Yeah. And then again, Luka fighting his way over the midline, bounce pass to KP through. This is like a mouse hole size window. And a nice little tomahawk there from Porzingis. Then finally, we got this. Luka, little dance revolution with Drew Holiday, one of the league's better defenders. And come on. Even when Kleber couldn't pay off the kick out, there is Luka again. The presence of mind to punch the ball, keep the Pels from regaining possession. All right, you got to watch the Holiday part again because it's so good.
It's good defense.
Come on. It is great defense.
Yes.
And yet, Luka, when it was all over, the Mavericks had the win. Porzingis finished with 34 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks. Doncic, 30 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. That number is insane, by the way. And by the way, he broke Jason Kidd's triple-doubles record in Dallas. He's only 21 years old. Maybe more importantly, though, Luka and KP together scored or assisted on 20 of the Mavericks' 25 points in the clutch, pushing the team to exactly the kind of win they have struggled with in the past. And really, it feels like it's just the beginning for these two. You know, since they both had injury issues this year, they've only played 38 games together, but their winning percentage in those games would actually make Dallas the 4th seed in the West if Luka and KP had gotten to play together all season. Now, of course, it didn't happen that way. But still, you have to ask, is this a partnership that's going to truly last 20 years? It's still unlikely. We're getting 2 decades. But after watching the two of them last night, I can sure understand why Mark Cuban wants to try for it and all that might happen for Dallas along the way. So, Dante, watching those highlights from last night, how dangerous are the Mavericks in a potential first-round matchup? Now, right now, they would face the Clippers. That's a lot of defense they'd be looking at, but still, they can get some things done, right?
It would be a top defensive team, and it'd be the best offensive rated team in basketball right now. And I think they'll be able to make some noise and make that a competitive series because, number one, they have a go-to guy in Luka, and then they have shooting surrounding him. They have a championship-level coach. So a guy who's been there before who can make playoff adjustments and make that a series that is just not a sweepable team out there just like normal first-round opponents are.
Yeah.
I think if you're a fan of the Dallas Mavericks, you should be really, really excited. I don't know about 20 years.
Right.
But this team, the improvement of the players that they've had this year, Seth Curry has been terrific in the second half of the season. He is arguably shooting the ball better than anybody else in the league right now. Tim Hardaway has had a terrific advancement year. I felt like he was cap filler in that trade. He has turned into a weapon for them. They've got the number one offense in the league. And then as you just look at Porzingis as he gets further and further healthier off not only the knee injury from 2 years ago, but the knee injury he had earlier this year. Like, we've been so focused on how Houston has been so good since the start of February. We haven't paid enough attention to how much Dallas has improved as this season has gone along. And so when we could talk about this year and how dangerous they potentially are this year, we do something at ESPN called the Future Power Rankings, where we look at teams' futures. There is almost nobody who has a brighter future than this team. And with Mark Cuban and their front office that they are going to be good at getting more pieces. They've shown that they can do that.
Well, Porzingis not only has played his way back after the knee injury, his upper body strength has been noticeably better and different this year, and it changes the way he plays. When he gets knocked around down in the post, he doesn't just then start floating out to the perimeter. He stays there and he does his work. I just think it's made a difference. All that time off for him, he applied that to doing something.
I think health is still. One of the reasons why the Knicks traded him, he said he wasn't going to sign, but they also were somewhat concerned about his health. So I would say the biggest question
Let's not
mark,
get into all the reasons.
the biggest question mark out of all this is health.
That's a whole different segment. Dante, I really like what you said, though, too, about they know who they're going to down the stretch. Because for so many teams, when they get in a playoff situation, that's something that can feel scrambled. And if they have confidence in this kid already, again, he's only 21 years old, but so clearly last night you could see he is their guy when things get tight at the end. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, they have a go-to guy who makes plays as well. He can score in bunches, but he also can make plays for other people. They've did a great job of assembling shooting around him. And coaching is going to be the part where it separates them from most teams who can make great playoff adjustments in Rick Carlisle and who's great with his X's and O's. So, yeah, they're a team to be able to watch out for, to be able to make a scare in the playoffs if they have a team that is not really prepared for them and cannot match them in shooting.
Yeah, for sure. Now, are we worried at all about Luka's left thumb injury? Because he did go get x-rays on it again last night. After the game, they reconfirmed that he just has a sprain. There's nothing broken. But, Brian, are you worried at all? Do you think maybe they should sit him for a week
Yeah, well,
or
they're
two?
already watching that ankle because he's had two ankle sprains. They give him some back-to-back stuff. Have you ever had a thumb ligament
Yes,
injury?
I've had a thumb ligament injury, and it's bad when it's in your shooting hand.
Yeah.
So, right, since he's a right-handed shooter, it's not something that's going to it's going to nag him, and it's going to be an inconvenience, and he can adjust his game around it. But as you see, it got hit, and he kind of just kept on going, making certain moves. It's just how much pain he can take.
The thing about it is if you tear your ligament in your thumb, his season will be over.
Right.
I don't know if it's in danger. I'm sure they wouldn't keep playing if it was in danger of a worse injury, but that's something you got to keep somewhere.
He did say after the game that he needs to start wearing one of those plastic splints, but I know that players don't like doing that, so.
But you might have to do that just to make sure that you
That
guys
you
get
don't.
But they're in a 6 seed right now, right? So, and if they'll probably stay in the 6 seed. That's a good place for them to be.
Yeah, they've been going back and forth with 7th and 6th. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Warriors announced yesterday Steph Curry cleared to return to action after missing 58 games with a broken left hand. Curry said he expects to play 28 minutes tonight in a rematch of last year's finals. Here's Steph on his motivation for playing right now.
Enough to play. I've been pretty clear on it's going to be a while before, comparing the left to the right, that it feels normal. And there is a new normal that I'm dealing with, but that's the reality of it. And at this point, I can't re-injure it unless something freakish happens like it did last time. And there's a confidence knowing that. And I just got to get out there and play.
Dante, how much of a lag do you expect for Steph Curry? Is he going to come out and be Steph Curry right away, or do you think he's going to have to work his way into it?
I think Steph is going to be dynamic tonight. He'll be Steph Curry. He's been away from the game for a little bit of time. The game has missed him, and he's missed the game. He can put on offensive shows at times. He'll be playing 20 to 24 minutes. So that's something that he can manage and go out there and give you a good show. But he's also playing a Toronto Raptors team who has length, who defends at a high clip. So it's a tough opponent to come back for. He should have came back for the Wizards. But if he wanted to go out Steph.
Dame Lillard came back against the Wizards. Steph wanted to come back against the Wizards. Instead, they wanted to get that one more practice in. And you're right, the Raptors are not going to be a pushover tonight. And
Not at all.
Yeah, so I've seen some people wonder why Steph is coming back and playing. Well, first off,
he's
Steph
a basketball player.
Steph wants to play. Second off, the fans want him to play. We want him to play too. I don't know if you heard, they're on ABC on Saturday night.
Mention that.
The other thing is, this comes from Greg Popovich. One of the things I've learned watching Pop over the years, he doesn't believe that any time is wasted. That at the end of a blowout, or if it's a game where Tim Duncan was sitting or whatever, he doesn't waste that time. And Steve Kerr learned from that. These games do not mean nothing. There will be things that happen in these games, whether it's with Andrew Wiggins or it's with other guys we're looking at, that potentially will help them down the line. We're not going to know it now, but in addition, we want to watch one of the best players in the league work. I promise you something will happen when Steph comes back that we'll be sitting here next October or November saying, hey, remember that? That is something that happened with the Spurs all the time.
And by the way, it is great for the fans because Steph Curry is really, really fun to watch play basketball. We have missed that over the last 4 months. And I'm watching some of these practice videos that have come out over the last couple weeks. He is, as always, he's shooting from the logo. He's shooting from half court. He's doing things in motion. It's just a joy to watch him play. And I think he appreciates, after being away from the game for a few months, I know at the end of last season, they were all so worn out, right, and tired up there in Golden State. Having it taken away from him, I chatted with him last month. He's so itching to get out there. I think he will see that Steph Curry joy, and that is going to be so much fun also. And Brian mentioned it. If you do like watching Steph Curry play basketball, you're really going to want to tune in on Saturday night. The Warriors host the Sixers on ABC. The Jump is your pregame show, 8 o'clock Eastern. We will see you there. All right, stay with us on this show because coming up, we're going to check in on Joel Embiid, whose status is unclear for Saturday night. He's got a shoulder injury, but it did not keep his